Tommy Robinson has been hit with a huge costs bill, and he's been questioned by the police once again, even though he's still in prison. Keir Starmer has had multiple facets of his past come back to haunt him, and he's been caught out in a number of inconsistencies, ongoing inconsistencies by me in my ongoing videos, but there is a fantastic win for free speech in this video. But first of all, if you're new to me, I'm Daniel Shennsmith, a barrister of England and Wales. I really love to help you understand law and talk about current events and politics and news on this channel. So I'd be really grateful if you subscribe. We are headed towards 700,000 subscribers. My goal is at least 1 million subscribers. I cannot do that without you. I am independent and I depend on you. I don't have deep pockets like the big media, so I'd love for you to do that. And just to address one or two people that seem to think that all of the current events and the news and the politics and the government is somehow divorced from the subject of law, with respect, they're wrong. Because if you think that this all doesn't affect you in a very legal sense, it very much does. Because everything that this government does, says, thinks and acts upon is going to somehow implement law and is going to affect you in some way or another. So for that reason, I will talk about these things, and many of you have kindly said that you enjoy it. So there we go. So let's take a look at what we're looking at first. So the first item here is, you'll remember that Tommy Robinson, Stephen Yaxley Lennon, was committed to prison because he admitted to breaching an injunction on numerous occasions as alleged by a Solicitor General. I've got 1 or 2 videos talking about that in great detail. I'll link those in the description below. The outcome of that was for 10 breaches of this injunction, each amounting to a contempt of court. The judge committed him to prison for a term of 18 months less 3 days, and of course he will ordinarily serve half. But the bit you may have missed here is that the judge also ordered him to pay the costs of those applications and adjourned the determination of any amount to be paid so that they could make written submissions and so on. And indeed they did, at least in regard to an interim payment, because the judge has granted an extension of time for written submissions for the full amount. But in the meantime, there was also an application for a payment on account, which means an interim payment. And the judge said that there's a presumption in favour of payment on account under the civil procedure rules. And the judge considered that it's likely that they'll recover substantially more than £50,000 when the costs bill subject to detailed assessment. And accordingly, the judge has ordered an interim payment of £50,000 on account of his liability, and no later than 4 p.m. on the 7th of January 2025. So that will be an interim payment and the full amount will be assessed. And that's not all regarding Tommy Robinson either, because there's an update from his admin team that run this X account here that says the police have sat down with him once again, even though he's currently still in prison. And this is a bit of an odd one, because this appears to be a complaint about an X post from another journalist, which is a little bit ironic since journalists like to uphold the freedom of expression under Article 10. More about that in a moment, because there is a big win for free speech coming later in this video. But this post says that the police have sat down again following up questioning him over an X post, which a Mail Online journalist complained about. His team say that this is a waste of police time and he's in prison. But the police are now going to refer this case, such as it is, I don't know the details, to the CPS so that they can determine whether they will charge him for a crime of posting something here on X. Obviously, there's nothing prejudicial here because I have no idea what the tweet is or what the post is. But nonetheless, I do find it a bit odd that a journalist who would ordinarily uphold free speech is making a complaint about a post on X. But we'll have to wait and see what that is. And if they do take the decision to charge him over it, obviously that will limit what I'm able to say about it. But nonetheless, now we're going to move on to Keir Starmer in just a moment. On another note, I get lots of emails and messages from people that have had frustrations with their mobile phone network, most of which are not economical to engage a lawyer about, but I can empathise because I've been in that situation. Earlier in the year, my son went to France, and despite the network's assurances, he could not connect to the network or the internet when he arrived. When I spoke to the service provider, they told me that they needed a code from his phone in order to activate it while he's roaming, not seeing the difficulty that that provided. But the reason I tell you this is I have a solution for you if you're in that situation. It's for that reason that I partner with a company called Saily, brought to you by Nord Security, which is an eSIM or digital SIM app which provides you seamless access to the internet in over 150 countries. You download the app, you buy a plan for your country of destination, you activate it before you leave, and you will have seamless access to the internet immediately upon arrival. So if ever you've been abroad and had difficulties, or you're going abroad and you're worried about having internet access, you'll know how important it is to have a local SIM card to get seamless access to the internet. Having an eSIM or digital SIM on your phone avoids you having to go out and buy one. It will be instantly on your phone and accessible and give you seamless access to the internet. And of course, as with all partners to my channel, I can get you a fantastic discount, which is 15% off any eSIM plan using the code BlackBeltBarrister, which is in the description below at the checkout. So download the app today and you'll avoid all of these difficulties that I've had and many of my viewers have had when they travel abroad and they cannot access the internet. And don't forget to save the code BlackBeltBarrister for your 15% discount. So now to Keir Starmer and some of the ghosts of his past coming back to haunt him. Now, even before I mention Kemi Badenoch here, some people will criticise her. This is not in defence of her, nor criticism of her. This is just her bringing up these things because this is in relation to who is now in power in government. And I do believe that, not just as a barrister, but I do believe that consistency is important. And if you change your mind about something later, you should be open about changing your mind. I'm quite sure that with the thousands of videos that I've done over the last few years, at some point I'm going to say something that starkly contradicts something that I've said before. If so, point it out, I'll admit it, and I'll say that I've changed my mind. I'll be open about that, I'll be clear about that, and I'm certainly not going to hide from it. What does strike me as a bit odd is the amount of inconsistent statements, previous inconsistent statements from members of this current government, in particular Keir Starmer, who as PM, one would really like to be consistent in their approach, particularly when it comes to campaigning and promising people what they are going to do in power. And to that end, let's take a look at what is pulled up by Kemi Badenoch here. Now, there's one or two other letters that I'll come to in a moment, which I can't 100% verify the origin of, just as a caveat there, but because I've found it in more than one place and more than one source, and they've got names to it, it appears to be a campaign letter. It appears to be genuine, but that's just a caveat. Come back to that in a moment. But first of all, this one here, this appears to be quite genuine because it's from Kemi Badenoch, leader of the opposition, and says, this is from Keir Starmer back in 2020 to the Prime Minister, just to make that clear. We, the undersigned, write to you as a group of cross-party parliamentarians to express our grave concern over Home Office plans to deport 50 people to Jamaica by charter flight on the 11th of February. 2 years ago, the Windrush crisis shook the country. In a violation of human rights, the government was found to have been detaining and deporting British citizens and those who had the right to live in the UK for decades. We urge you to take the following actions recommended by the Joint Council for the Welfare of Migrants without delay. And among them was the flight, and all future charter flights must be suspended until the Windrush Lessons Learned review has been published and its recommendations implemented. And so the point made by Kemi Badenoch here is that he called for the suspension of flights deporting dangerous foreign criminals, many of them who went on to reoffend and even murder. The second letter that she refers to is as follows, and says, this is from Keir Starmer, and says, thank you for getting in touch regarding the Labour leadership campaign and for everything you do to help tackle discrimination and defend migrants' rights. The bits of focus here, it says, Britain is economically, culturally and socially richer as a result of immigration. We should celebrate this and the huge contribution migration has made to our country. Now, if we pause just for a moment there, because I'm sure that I'm going to get one or two comments about this, so I'm going to anticipate those. One or two people may think that I'm anti-immigration and I'm against all forms of immigration and that I think that there's no contribution to society by migration to the UK. All of that would be a bit silly if those then realise that my wife's Chinese, and obviously, having come here, I would say that she and we together have contributed to this society greatly. And she is absolutely an asset to this society. We've built businesses. She's paid a huge amount in tax, created jobs, and created lots of opportunity here by coming here and enhancing this country, which she now calls home. So if anyone was about to criticise me for being against immigration in all its forms, think again, because that's obviously not true. But back to the letter. It says here, one of the major reasons for this is Tory obsession with chasing arbitrary, unenforceable and unachievable immigration targets. I would never adopt such a target-based approach to immigration. So Keir Starmer says he would never have any kind of targets for immigration. This is in a previous letter. He then went on to say in the 5th paragraph down, our immigration system should be welcoming and compassionate, not cruel and oppressive. But for too long, the system has worked on the basis that it should penalise and deter migrants rather than provide support. Now again, if you caught my video yesterday, I went in through great detail of the immigration flow that my wife had to go through, and jointly we had to go through to bring her here. And so many of you have either left comments or emailed me. Thousands of comments and lots of emails have flooded in overnight about people that have had all sorts of problems in coming to this country legally, following the rules and everything else. But at the same time, tens upon tens of thousands of migrants are arriving by boat and do not go through this whole procedure. And so the point of all this here, quite frankly, is that if that is Keir Starmer's approach to immigration, i.e. open borders, open arms, provide support, remove the restrictions and provide what he calls a system based on dignity and compassion, as opposed to putting through the mill, like as in many people are when they come legally, then why not say that instead of have mini speeches or parts of speeches a little bit like this?
So we're taking a different approach. We will publish a white paper imminently which sets out a plan to reduce immigration. The Migration Advisory Committee is already conducting a review. And where we find clear evidence of sectors that are over-reliant on immigration, we will reform the points-based system and make sure that applications for the relevant visa routes, whether it's the skilled worker route or the shortage occupation list, will now come with new expectations on training people here in our country. We will also crack down on any abuse of the visa routes. For far too long, we've been casual about malpractice in our labour market, which sends a clear signal overseas that we're a soft touch.
Now, on the one hand, yes, we do need a robust system as to how people come here and what rules they follow, whether as a student, as a worker, or on a spouse visa, marrying somebody, and so on. We do need robust rules for that. We had to follow those rules. Many of my clients have to follow those rules. Friends and so many people I know have had to follow those rules. If you missed my video yesterday, I strongly advise you to go and watch that, because this will give this whole story here a lot more context of the situation that many people go through. Some things have changed in the interim, but much of it is still the same. But on the contrary, what I do think is a soft touch is the whole system in how it deals with people that arrive by small boats. Now, of course, there are many people that do need the protection, and this is absolutely not against those, and it is not to detract from the seriousness that those people experience. However, the whole system as it is causes significant problems. For example, you may remember this man in the photo released by the Met Police earlier this year. This was Abdul Shakur Ezedi. He was the prime suspect in a chemical attack against a woman and 2 girls on the 31st of January. The reason this led to lawyers saying that the system is chaotic and not effective, such as the lawyer pictured just above him, was that Ezedi arrived by the back of a lorry in 2016. His first 2 attempts at claiming asylum had failed, but during that time, he committed an sexual assault and indecent exposure. He pleaded guilty in 2018 and was given a suspended sentence. However, in 2020, he was then granted asylum on the basis that he claimed to have converted to Christianity, and together with his convictions, it would be unsafe for him to return to Afghanistan. The lawyers say that they presume that part of the claim would be to show that he was Christian and that he can't go back because it's predominantly Taliban Muslim society and his life would be at risk. And so that was the reason that he was here. And so that is the system, essentially, that protects people that are here from going back to a country despite them having committed offences here, because they say that it would be unsafe for them to leave. And with the overthrow of Assad in Syria just recently, the Daily Mail reports, having spoken to Syrians in Calais waiting to make the crossing into the UK, say that they will still come because the UK has work and everything that they need, ostensibly proving that they are, by and large, economic migrants, given the flow of traffic back into Syria that was also reported just recently, indicating that it is now safe to return, and with the UK putting a pause on all new applications from those from Syria, in the fear, of course, that those coming from Syria may pose a significant security risk to the UK. But there is yet a further letter that has surfaced that appears to have been penned by Keir Starmer. It looks like it was in the Cornish Guardian, Bodmin and East Cornwall. I found it in a couple of places, and it reads as follows. Stark contradiction, you may think, to what's going on at the moment. He says, "I know how much Britain's older generations have contributed to our country and that the debt that is owed to them. They've worked hard and paid their taxes, always done the right thing. I know how much a struggle it's been in recent times. Prices have gone up in the shops, energy bills have rocketed, and Tory tax rises mean that a record number of pensioners are now paying income tax. Waiting times in the NHS are now so long that many feel that they've got no option but to pay thousands of pounds to go private for treatment if they are able." To add insult to injury, he says Rishi Sunak broke his promise on the pension triple lock, and the Conservatives' mini-budget wiped billions from the value of pension funds. Bear in mind, of course, all of the recent tax increases whilst the words of this letter resonate. He goes on, "I'll never betray Britain's pensioners as Rishi Sunak has. With my fully costed and fully funded plans, the state pension will increase year on year with the triple lock over the whole Parliament. We'll cut energy bills for good by creating Great British Energy, a publicly owned clean power company, etc., etc. I will ensure Britain's retirees get the security and respect that they deserve." As I said, I found that in a couple of places, so it appears to be a genuine letter. If anyone knows otherwise, do let me know. If anyone remembers that letter, equally, let me know. But it appears to be a stark contrast to what is actually going on right now. Furthermore, I did actually quote post Keir Starmer here when he says that they are doing everything they can to enable people to buy their own home. I linked my previous video where they're making changes to stamp duty and lowering the discounts for the right to buy scheme, etc., which also makes things difficult to buy their own home. Now, personal views aside, those are just contradictions. You may or may not agree with those things, but nonetheless, they are contradictions one way or another. Finally, if all that wasn't bad enough, a previous article from The Telegraph surfaced once again from July last year, where Keir Starmer's former headmaster criticised his proposed plans at the time to add VAT to private school fees, bearing in mind that Keir Starmer went to this school, Reigate, in 1974. When he entered, it was just a selective grammar school, but then it became a fee-paying school, but he didn't have to pay fees because he received a bursary to fund his sixth form studies there. So despite then attending a fee-paying school for free and his headmaster saying that he would like to work with a prospective Keir Starmer government together to assist in teaching new teachers, etc., instead of that, he's gone ahead, or his government has gone ahead and slapped VAT on private school fees nonetheless. His former head teacher said, "Keir Starmer attended Reigate Grammar School. I'm proud of his career success. We stand ready," he said, "to work with Sir Keir and anybody to help more children access great education. Independent schools can be a part of the solution." He said, "I want to talk to a possible, at the time, new Starmer government about a partnership, not tax. Please let us help train teachers, especially in shortage subjects, to discuss the reform of curriculum assessment, accountability measures, and so on." And so instead of that, we now have thousands upon thousands of children that are being cut halfway through their schooling. They're halfway through GCSEs, many of them. They cannot switch. I've done videos about that before. This is an utterly ridiculous policy coming in on the 1st of January, which is forcing many children out into an already over-bloated state system that just simply cannot accept them. In much more positive news, and a fantastic win for free speech today, I'm very pleased to say that fellow barrister Dr. Charlotte Proudman has been cleared of professional misconduct in relation to a series of tweets she posted about a judge. Here's what she had to say.
The prosecution against me brought by my regulatory body, the Bar Standards Board, should never have happened, and I said that from day one. I criticise a domestic abuse judgment. Everyone should have the right to do that, whether you're a barrister or not. Our justice system, which I strongly believe in, is robust enough to withstand criticism from me. At the time, I was a 34-year-old woman. They can withstand criticism from me. I was accused of bringing the entire judiciary into disrepute.
I'll link the video below so you can watch it in full, and it's been reported by the Law Gazette. I'll also link below. In short, the Bar Standards Board, our regulator, pursued 5 charges of professional misconduct against Dr. Proudman in respect of these tweets. The tribunal ruled, in short, as follows. We do not condone the tweets. That is not our function. Our function is to decide whether it's been established by the Bar Standards Board that she lost her Article 10 protection. the Article 10 freedom of expression, which I've mentioned many, many times before. The tribunal ruled, we do not consider that she has. These tweets will not have been pleasant for the judge to read. No one would enjoy getting comments like that when they've done their professional best in a difficult situation. They may even be thought to be hurtful, but they are not gravely damaging to the judiciary. We take the view that the judiciary of England and Wales is far more robust than that. The charges were all dismissed and an application for costs will be heard at a later stage. So, as I say, a win for free speech. Even barristers have the right to the freedom of expression under Article 10, and that indeed is protected. And I'm no stranger to criticism myself. I've had a number of criticisms myself, and the Bar Standards Board has responded to those, to one or two that have, I don't get many complaints, but one or two that have made complaints, so I'm not immune myself. The Bar Standards Board in each of those has used a form of words along the lines of, Mr. Shensmith has an Article 10 right to the freedom of expression, a right which attracts the highest protection when concerning political matters, in some recent videos. Whilst others may not agree with his opinions, he has the right to express his views. And that is very much the case for barristers as well as anybody else. So I hope you found that an interesting roundup of lots of different things going on. As I say, please do hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. I depend on you to subscribe to grow the channel. And I hope you do enjoy the broader discussion on news and politics and events and how they intertwine with the law, because they all very much do affect you in every way, in every aspect of life. So I hope you enjoyed that. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.